Dawn.
Beautiful.
So we are here on the 1st of March for our fortnightly roundtable with the gorgeous Brice from Esoteric Atlanta, Medyhne, and David will be joining us shortly when he gets out of bed, because Australia, guys, it's very early in the morning. So it's late in the UK, mid-afternoon for you, Brice, isn't it? And early the next day morning for Medyhne. How are you all doing? Let's start with you, Medyhne, because you have got floods over there, haven't you?
Absolutely, yes. Do you want me to start talking about that?
Let's just see how you are first and how Brice are, and then we'll get into what's happening and where we all are.
I'm not swimming, so that's one thing. I haven't got my bathers on. I'm not swimming, so that's a positive right there. Yes, we've got a big topic to talk about with these floods, and I've got another huge topic to share that's incredibly fascinating and exciting and positive as well. So I'm really excited to tell you all about that. And I personally, I'm going good, considering, that there's a lot of energy here with all the, the extreme hardship and challenges of what we're going through right now in Australia. And for some reason, I've been able to transmute it. So that's good, because you know how you can pick up the energy around you, and that can really impact on how you feel. I've been transmuting. So yeah, I'm feeling good considering everything going on. Thank you.
Brilliant. And how are you doing in Atlanta, Brice?
I'm good. I mean, it's been crazy. It's like the energy is just very static right now is what it feels like. And I know energetically we're changing, like we're in the process of like flipping timelines is what I keep understanding. So things can be, that's maybe why my phone's not really working. I don't know. But it's good. It's beautiful outside right now. We have this like tiny little window in Georgia where we actually have a spring, and then it's just hot as hell. So we're in that tiny little window where it's really nice outside and it's pleasant before it becomes like walking through a bowl of hot soup and gross, and you're sweating in places you didn't even know could sweat. But Southern girls don't sweat, we glisten. So it's good.
I love that. You radiate.
And I think I'm joining Medyhne here over in the UK, because after the storms last year that knocked out the trees, the power, etc., I might be building an ark if this rain continues. So, but it's really weird because I have to have a little bit of giggle with you girls, because I've said about the Mercury retrograde and things like this, and is it the fact that we focus on it that affects it? Well, this week after the storms, like everything in the house has gone wrong. So it's been a bit of a sort of catastrophe of disasters, and it's been quite funny for me because it's been really good way to put into practice all the things I talk about. And I just always makes me laugh because I'm like, oh, I can notice myself reacting like this. I can notice. But on a good note, I must just tell you before we get into the serious stuff, as we speak, I have got my new baby is on her way over from Romania. Got a little Mitzi cat because we know we lost our gorgeous Fluffy Duffy. And so I've got a gorgeous new rescue cat on her way over as we speak. So I might have to take some maternity leave soon.
Oh, that's
so beautiful. I will be sharing her journey with you and making some videos and showing everyone her second in. But I can't tell you how excited I am. I can hardly speak. I'm just excited that I'm about to give birth to another little fur baby.
Have you got a name yet?
She's actually she's already got a name, Mitzi. And from the photos agreed, we normally our rescue animals, when they come in, they normally choose to change their name. But actually Idris, who came from Romania through the same rescue organization that I'm getting her from, he suited Idris so much. And so we kept that, and we think we're going to keep Mitzi because from the pictures I've seen, it seems to really suit her. But I'll let you know when she arrives, and I'll ask her and see whether she wants to change it.
So, they get little passports when they come from Romania.
Yeah, they have to have all their passports and everything, and the people that transport them over. So she's on a whole van full of dogs, and she's the only cat. And so I won't be getting much sleep for the next couple of days. I don't quite know when she's arriving. It depends how their journey goes and everything. But I am beyond excited to be a mummy again. So, and all the others know that, because I've had a word with them and they all know, so they're all on their best behavior. The funny thing is, I won't keep this too long, but my son, who's away at university, and keeps saying, Mom, don't get any more animals. He loves animals, but you know, I do have a habit of collecting them. And he doesn't realize that his room has been completely, because he's got the best room because we keep them separate, but so they can sniff the others and everything. So I forgot he's coming home for Easter, and he doesn't realize that he's going to have a new little friend in there. So no one tell him. Don't tell anyone. I love that. He loves all animals, but it is quite funny. It's like he comes home thinking his room and it's been turned into the new cat sanctuary. Yeah.
Awesome.
So tell us about then, Medyhne. What is it? Tell us about the floods first.
Okay, well, it's absolutely biblical, really, here in Australia. The whole thing is clearly bioengineered. There's footage from a guy in America called Rob, forget his last name, but he traces the chem bombs and the weather patterns and everything. And he, in his information, he clearly indicates that these are all weather engineered events. You know, they're not naturally forming. I mean, there was even a news channel that went on and talked about how these looked like they were artificially created. He was on the mainstream news. I've got that video as well. So, you know, you can see that it's not a natural event, but basically it's probably the biggest disaster that we've had in Australia ever, pretty much. I mean, the biblical levels of flooding going from Gympie, potentially in Queensland, right down through New South Wales, and you know how big Australia is, right down to Victoria. It's mammoth, you know, whole towns are completely underwater. They're estimating at least 3.5 million people have been affected. They're saying don't even bother getting in your car and driving around. I'm right inside it too, because Tweed Heads is just in New South Wales down from Queensland. And we got, I'm just going to share with you on the share screen, if I may, we got an evacuation order, if you can see that, to get out of the house and evacuate 2 days ago. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Is that the evacuation order? Yeah, that you can see.
Yeah.
So that's what I got on my phone. But we were up a little bit, so we didn't move. We're still in the house and we're okay. The water levels have stayed fairly level here. They haven't risen too much in the last day. But you know, there's towns where people have been stranded on their roofs, and you know, families, and they haven't been able to be rescued by the military because they haven't been able to get to them. And you know, the number of people affected here is probably bigger than any other event, I think, that we've ever experienced.
And
so
all the animals.
Exactly.
That's
Now,
terrible.
I know. Well, my friend, he's in a town now. This is fascinating. It's called Woodburn. Let me show you a picture of the bridge in Woodburn. He said he saw, and this
don't
is
tell me anything hot. Please don't say anything.
Oh, okay. Okay, I won't say that.
I don't want to hear it. It's not going to help anyone, is it?
Sure. But anyway, I'm just trying to share with people how big this is. And see this bridge here, that bridge there.
Wow.
And can you see that's the bridge, and then this one here is if you can see this one here, this is a town called Woodburn in New South Wales. Now, if you can see that, can you see that red brick building just there behind the bridge? That one there? I lived there 8 months ago. I lived there for about a year and a half. So we moved out 8 months ago of that actual, and it's part of a shop, and it's completely underwater now, Woodburn. So I was actually in that like 8 months ago. And this is just, you know, one of the towns that has been impacted by these floods. So, you know, I think that if people can send you know, there's so many things going on in the world, but to send prayers and blessings and positive energy to you know, Australia at the moment in terms of these floods, that would be greatly appreciated. And there's two narratives I've heard, which I want to share. One is, you know, obviously that it's a dark activity to create so that people can't protest and they can't, you know, push back against government. So there's that's one narrative. The other narrative I have heard, which I'm not saying is true or not, but I'm just wanting to share information, is that it's the white hats and that there's a lot of bunkers and underground dams around the whole Byron region. You know, a lot of film people have moved to Byron with multi-million-dollar houses and things, and that the white hats are clearing out these around that area. But, you know, it's controversial, obviously, to say that, and it's hard to know exactly what's happening, but that's the two narratives that I'm hearing. And a few friends that have meditated said they felt that it was more the white hats going in. But then if you've got bunkers, aren't they extremely highly engineered so that they can stop, you know, a lot of water coming in? So then on some level, maybe that's not plausible. I don't know. But this is just what I'm wanting to share with people, information. So this is the extent of, you know, what's happening in Australia at the minute. It's absolutely huge. And I can't drive very far because all around me there's floodwaters. So I can't, the highways are closed, all that sort of thing.
Which is going to have a massive effect on stocks and supplies and everything. And isn't it interesting, because we've got to be very careful, because obviously this is going on YouTube with what we say, but, you know, everything, the focus is on Ukraine, and yet there's so much happening elsewhere in the work, and it's sort of look here so that people don't look here. And yeah, it's just awful, isn't it? It's just absolutely awful. Oh my goodness. Have you heard much about that in America, Brice? Because we
don't get, you know, our media is very selective of what they tell. I mean, I don't watch the news anyway, so I don't think many people watching, you know, but, you know, watch what they have to tell us. But yeah, we don't get any type of information from, we don't even get information of things happening in our own country half the time. You know, they don't even tell us. So yeah, they're keeping that very selective with what we understand as far as a collective consciousness, where, you know, I think we're aware of that. I think everybody watching is aware of that we have to dig for our own information. That's why it's so cool to have like friends all over the world that we can actually get the information from. Good morning.
Good morning.
Hi, David. We're just getting an update from Medyhne on the flooding situation, and she's been sharing some of the awful pictures and everything, just to show just the sheer scale of what's been going on. And Brice and I were just saying that, you know, we're not getting that reported over here at all.
Right. Yeah, it's insane over there. There's some.
Yeah, I was just saying, Dave, it's the largest disaster probably that's ever happened in Australia. The number of people that are impacted and the level of destruction, you know, all the houses that have gone under. 15,000 in Brisbane. And, you know, whole towns like Lismore and, you know, the whole Byron region, and all the way down, they say it could extend to Victoria from Gympie.
I can remember actually, Medyhne, when I was in traveling in Australia in, was it 90 or 91? I can't remember what. And there were really, really horrific floods then. And I can remember I was completely cut off in Townsville and Magnetic Island. I was staying on Magnetic Island at a place where they had sharks, and the whole place flooded and everything was underwater, like right up to our chest and neck area. And we had to evacuate like our tents in the night, and all the sharks got loose from the tanks, and we were just hours. But that was horrendous, because we cut off for weeks and weeks. We couldn't get off Magnetic Island. The whole of Townsville was underwater and everything, and it's horrendous.
Gosh.
Never seen anything like it. Yeah.
Do you guys in Australia, this might be a silly question, but do you guys get like hurricanes? And is this something are you guys used to having when you're on the coast, having like issues with flooding? And
well, there are cyclones, particularly up north, you know, around Cairns and, you know, north there. But this storm is clearly artificially engineered on so many levels. You know, there's footage really indicating that. So yeah, that's all I can say really. What do you think, Dave?
I watched a video yesterday. Yeah, can you hear me okay?
Quite quiet for me.
Yeah, I got to be a little bit quiet because people are asleep. But
Okay.
I watched a video yesterday where there was, I think it was a weatherman in, I don't know whether it was, you know, Queensland or New South Wales, and he actually mentioned on the story. Did you see that, Medyhne?
Yes,
So
I did mention at the beginning that he was a mainstream media guy, and yeah, it was incredible.
Very strange.
That he
Yeah,
mentioned it.
very odd.
Yeah, yeah. He basically said that it looked artificially created on mainstream media. I mean, if that doesn't wake some people up, what will?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, they wouldn't normally say that, would they? It's very odd. I mean, that's not the first story we've had about spraying either. You know, there was one a couple of months ago as well. So
yeah. I mean, they even put out one in Queensland saying that because it had so many people asking the council what's happening with the weather and the chemtrails and things, and they said that they are spraying, you know, these barium and different chemicals for weather engineering. So they did admit it. Yeah.
We'll just stop doing it.
It's interesting to know why.
Yeah. Stop repenting your sins. Just stop it now.
Yeah. It's so funny. I remember, like, you know, in school and studying Old Man in the Sea, man versus nature. Nature always wins, but now we're learning that nature isn't actually nature in some instances. You know, I keep thinking about, I don't know if we can even say this, but New Orleans, 2005? That took out, I mean, New Orleans is under sea level, so I know that they're used to dealing with that kind of stuff. I mean, the graveyards in New Orleans, they put the bodies above the ground in like vaults, because otherwise you would just have bodies floating around every time there was a hurricane. But you know, you look at what happened at that, and back in 2005, I don't think any of us were aware that this wasn't just an act of nature. That this was actually something that was targeted, and
it's so prevalent. You know, there is so many things happening around the world that are artificially created, and we probably don't realize the extent of how much through the different H and C things like that. I can't say the words, but yeah.
I think I was telling Catherine in some of my studies, my deep dives into history, I was looking into Boudica and doing a story of Boudica, but there was some information I found that even the United Kingdom, the whole British Isles at one point were tropical. And that's wild, because we don't think of England as being tropical, you know. And
I can think of another example too. You know, the whole desert in the middle of Australia, they say that there was a nuclear explosion that happened, and that's why it's all, you know, desert in the middle of Australia, and it used to have plant life and everything like that. And in fact, Elizabeth Claire Elizabeth Prophet, I can't remember her name. She's amazing, you know, spiritual sort of way shower leader. She actually got visions coming through to her from the divine and from the angels, telling her that there was this nuclear explosion in Australia. And when she came to Australia, she talked to people, and she could feel this like a fear coming from people, and she traced it back on a soul level to these explosions, these nuclear explosions, where they were holding this cellular fear because they had a memory of these explosions that happened in Australia. Fascinating.
Would this be like the fall of Atlantis, like nuclear explosions, like that far back, where something had happened to cause?
A bit after that, you know, that happened in Australia after Atlantis and all that. Yeah.
It's it's a topic that's come up a lot between myself and sort of my friends, is that when you look at the human race, and I've heard Zach Bush talk about it, and I love Zach Bush, is such a knowledgeable man. It's really interesting because so many forms, you take whales, for example, and a lot of cetaceans have got a hugely high emotional intelligence, a hugely high, very sophisticated communication systems, a very different type of intelligence to humans and things, but we've never seen any other species that we're aware of on the planet ever just inflict destruction and just upset the whole ecosystem and the functioning of the whole planet in the way that human does. And it does make me wonder how many more chances as a species we will be given.
Yeah, well, I have something really positive on that note to share, if that's all right. I had an amazing thing happen, because in terms of going forward as a species, it's really positive. I have a beautiful master in Malaysia that contacted me. I'll just show you a photo of him. His name's Master Hawk. And he said that he got a very strong guidance to, because he works planetarily, to close in Turkmenistan what was called the gates of hell. Let me show you the photo. And so here it is here. And so what happened was he got this guidance, and then he put out a call to me and he said, look, you know, we have to do this. And so I said, look, I'll share it on my channel. So I shared this, and this was on the 22nd of the 2nd, 2022, that we needed to come together, unify, and do meditations and things to close this energy. It's like a really dark portal in Turkmenistan. And so I put it out there, and lo and behold, you know, I'd hope we'd just get a few people on board. It pretty much went viral. And we had 32,000 people watch this, and so many people contacted me. We had about 368 comments, and lots of people contacted me. And people would get together with 40 members of their family and do this meditation practice right at that time, which if anyone wants to look at it, it's on my channel. And this whole story is explained. It's absolutely fascinating. And so we all these people around the world worked on this. And then we got guidance at the end, and we did an update where he tuned in to the, you know, the divine realms, and we were collectively able to seal or close this very, very magnified, negative, nefarious energy that was in Turkmenistan. And even they were calling at a governmental level for people to come together, the scientists, and do something about it. And so energetically, you know, we all unified and did this, and people got the most amazing visions about it, of what happened. And then when you put all the information together, it correlated, because, you know, Mary Magdalene, she was involved, which interests you, Brice, with all your wonderful series on Mary Magdalene, and you know, Yeshua and Archangel Michael, and all came together, and we were able to actually close this. And this is huge for the planet. It's going to make a big difference, and very, very positive. So it's a fascinating videos. There's two, one where we call on people to do it, and another where we update people. And Hawk tells a whole story from the beginning of actually what happened and how we did it. And it's wonderful. I was just so grateful that to be a part of it, and that we were able to do that. So yeah.
Awesome. You know, it's funny, you talked about how many chances do we get, and the reason why I asked about Atlantis is that I've over and over, I hear people say that right now what we're living through mirrors the fall of Atlantis, and most of us were there for that fall. And but this time it's probability, and I want to start saying probability over prophecy, because I don't want people to rest on their laurels. It's a probability that we are going to swing the other way, move into positive, where that human beings are going to the nefarious beings are not going to succeed this time, because last time they did, and that's what caused the Great Flood that caused Atlantis to fall. And of course, in Atlantis, we were using crystal grids, energy from rocks, which a lot of us are using again now. And we've heard stories that there are crystalline grids underneath us on our earth that will start to reemerge again once we're able to shift the vibration of humanity towards that place. And so I think for a lot of us, there is a lot of like PTSD, maybe, from reliving something we've already lived through, except for that time, it didn't end that well for humanity. But this time, the probability is that we will succeed at this point. And it's funny you mentioned Mary Magdalene, because yes, Mary Magdalene has been in my life for most of my life. Her name, Magdalene, we've been told that it was because she was from a town called Magdala, but now we know that's not true. Most of her story that they've told us is not true. Magdalene means the tower, as in the tower moment.
Yes. And let me say too that this whole event with closing this energy, we related it to the Atlantean times, and we talked about that, and we also utilized a crystal grid to close this energy. So all the things you're talking about were part of what we were doing as well. Very interesting.
Yeah. So we just got to sit with our trauma, move through it, and be the badass warriors we were sitting here to be.
I think that's why I do my sessions too, because, you know, you're helping people to transmute the soul cellular memory of trauma, release that so that we can move on in new energies. And sometimes people don't know how to transmute that. So I think it's really important to have ways that you can tap into that and acknowledge it, recognize it, and then be able to heal it. It's really important part of our progress to go in on a soul level and work on ourselves to transmute any soul wounding that we're still holding in our bodies. And you know, that's why my sessions are so great, because we do past life clearing and energy healing and all that sort of thing. It's really important at this time. And ancestral lineage healing, you know, genetic healing, and even just to do the technique where you ask for forgiveness on behalf of all your ancestors. That is such a crucial thing to do right now, because you're the only one incarnated on the earthly plane that can actually ask for that forgiveness. They can't do it from the other side. So, you know, something that seems relatively simple like that is going to have major implications for your whole ancestral genetic line.
Yeah,
and Indigenous people encourage us to do that too.
Yeah, Tina's going to give the listeners to all this video a discount code at the end, so we'll cover that. David, what's been happening where you are? Because I know you've had a bit of a yo-yo, haven't you, where things were meant to be getting better, and then suddenly you've had a bit of a back turn. What are your thoughts on that, about where you are?
I don't know, really. It's a funny one. So we were supposed to open up, or for the people that have had the thing in the arm, we were going to open up about a month ago now, and they pushed it back. They didn't say when, but they about a week ago they said we'll open up on the 4th of March. But it's still it's not really open. It's only open for certain people. But the funny thing is that they said we want to have a higher dosage of, triple shots. And now apparently we're at 60% after having been nowhere near that like a month ago. So I don't know. I don't buy it, but it's just really strange. And here's the funny thing. Over East, a couple of months ago, Medyhne will probably remember this, they said that they expected the thing to, the Omicron, or whatever you want to call it, they expected it to peak. And since then, a lot of restrictions have been rolled back over East, and they don't wear muzzles anymore and stuff. They've now said the same thing here. So they're expecting it to peak in like 2 weeks or something. So if that's anything to go by, it's possible we could see some restrictions rolled back into, maybe a couple of weeks later, 3 or 4 weeks, 5 weeks, I don't know.
I think the whole narrative's just naturally crumbling right now, and they're trying they're trying to grab onto something else now which of course, we've got the flooding now that they can focus on. So it was bound to happen in that way, because they can't sustain that anymore.
And over here, the focus is very much on war. But one of the things we were talking about sort of off camera, David, before you joined, and I'd really love your opinion on, is what I've been noticing, and Brice and Medyhne were sort of agreeing that they've been noticing it as well, is that a lot of people are still very, very focused on clinging on to information from someone else. And it's a bit like the mainstream, for our network of listeners and things, the mainstream media has been replaced almost by these sort of channels. But people are replacing believing what they heard on the mainstream media with then taking as gospel what they're hearing from their favorite YouTube channel forever, and it's still missing out the link of that personal responsibility and taking on board and taking the time and adjusting your lifestyle so that you're listening to your internal guidance rather than just being obsessed with what someone else is saying. What do you think about that? What have you been noticing?
Yeah, I'm sure we all see comments in our videos where people are saying, this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened. And I'm like, I don't even know if any of it happened, to be honest. I just, until we see something, and unfortunately, generally that thing has to come out of the MSM, until we see a complete, well, not necessarily. I mean, we can see stuff that's happening over in Europe that we know is not true. But until what I'm referring to is more so people are saying, oh, this person's been arrested, this person's been executed, this, things like that. We don't know any of that's true, really. We kind of just have to go off of what we think, or what we feel. But there's definitely an element.
It's more your family and friends and people around you that know, don't they, Dave? I mean, you can't, obviously, there's nothing else that you can listen to apart from the people around you, your personal sort of connections that you know what's really going on. Everything else is just hearsay.
Right. If it's boots on the ground type stuff, then it's a lot different. Yeah. That goes for anything. But I don't know, really. I mean, it's interesting though. You see things like that weatherman and the report in the media, and we literally there was one weekend a couple of months ago where pretty much the whole country was sprayed, like huge, and then they had a story on it in the mainstream saying, talking about it. So there's definitely something going on. They're wanting you to know. They're wanting you to make that connection.
It's like being drip fed. Little bits coming out. Yeah,
it is. There's definitely people releasing information they want us to know and to kind of make the connection around. It's not happening fast enough. But I also think that it comes back to that thing, like, are the white hats, what percentage of control do they have, or influence do they have? And I'd say there's definitely an element of influence there, but control wise, I don't know. I mean, if they really had control, we wouldn't be seeing all the devastation we've been seeing, in anywhere. Because it's
that gets me when I'm really pissing me off. And I know I've used the term movie on my channel because of censorship. This is not a movie, guys. And you're right. If this was a movie and it's just the white hats doing all this, and the white hats are also psychopaths, this is a war. This is like, there are still, and I think when we get on this, like, this thought process that, oh, it's all a movie and it's all fake and blah, 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 then we relax onto our laurels. This is about humanity. This is not about just government leaders and certain celebrities. It's not just about the Kennedys or the Trumps or like whatever. It's about us. And we have to get our shit together. We can't sit around and just pretend like what we heard, because this person is not really this person, and, wink, wink. No, we all have to do our part, because we're in this together. We literally are all walking each other home. Like, we are in this together. I talked about this with Sean Stone. Like, don't sit around, eat popcorn and wait for the Kennedys to do something. You're on the planet too.
But can I just say, it's also more than, it's also more than humanity, because we keep getting, like we were just saying about the floods, it's every species on the planet, plant and animal. And what gets me is everyone keeps saying the truth always comes out in the end. No, it doesn't. I've still no idea what really happened in World War II and World War I. I've got an inclination now, but I need to do a hell of a lot more research to really know. And even the research, it's all twisted. So people keep saying, the truth will come out and we'll have the new Contaminated and it's against the law, but they don't care it's against the law. No one's been obeying the laws since time began, hence all these things happened. And equally about it's biblical, and as you know better than probably all of us, Brice, it's like, but it's selective which bits of the Bible, we know everything's been manipulated. So for me, it's like this whole thing about where are we, just like you were all saying, boots on the ground, David, where are we right here, right now? What are we saying? I don't know what's happening in Ukraine. The only thing I would put my hand up and I would bet everything on is the fact that what we're being told, you can almost reverse it. But I don't know. I don't have personal friends in Ukraine. I've never been there. The political system, I was watching the Oliver Stone film, which is absolutely brilliant. But I need to rewatch it probably about 5 times because there's so much information in there that's new to me. It's quite a lot to take in all at once. But where are we now? What are we feeling? What can we influence on our local level? What can we put out energetically ourselves? Because everything else, even everything we're talking about, is all hearsay, isn't it?
The biggest energy that I'm getting at the moment with clients is about everyone taking personal responsibility for themselves. So it's all about sovereignty, both individually and collectively, even as countries. It all boils down to that. So what level of personal empowerment are you stepping into? Are you embracing within yourself? Or are you giving your power away to everyone else and allowing them to control and manipulate you? You know, this is the key fundamental core factor of everything that's going on, which is us recognizing that we are infinite divine creator gods, and that we can embrace that power within ourselves now and move forward in the evolution of ourselves and the planet, or we can get left behind energetically.
Yeah, it's funny. I was talking about this on David Zublik's show today, and I don't know if you guys have ever read the Ramayana. It's one of my favorite. I love all the Hindu stories because they're such a metaphor, and it's about Ram, who is one of the avatars of God, and his wife Sita gets stolen or abducted by Ravayana, who's this demon god, and takes her over to Sri Lanka. And so Ram hires Hanuman, it's Tuesday, it's the day of Hanuman. He's the monkey god. He's very military.
Oh my gosh, he was working in the gates of, you know, what we were talking about.
I love Hanuman. Yeah, I have a little Hanuman in my car that, yeah.
You watch the video, Brice, because he talks all about the Monkey King. It's fascinating.
Oh, Hanuman, yeah. Hanuman, his father is like the breath of the wind. He's the son of the wind. So he has these special abilities, but he forgets that he has these abilities. And when he remembers who he is, that's when he's able to jump all the way from India to Sri Lanka to defeat Ravana, who is this demon that can't be defeated. He defeats him and he brings Sita, rescues Sita, and brings Sita back to Ram. Well, the whole metaphor of the story is Ram is God, Sita is your soul, Hanuman is your courage. Mm-hmm. And we all have to remember who the fuck we are. They've tried so hard to put this veil over us. You carry the spark of God in you. That light behind somebody's eyes, that's not their eyeball, that's their soul. And that's powerful. And instead of sitting back on our laurels and be like, oh, it's a movie, they've got it, they'll take care of it. No, we have to take care of it. We are Hanuman. We're the ones that are going to return the soul of humanity back into the light. And that has to start with you. That doesn't mean that everybody watching has to create a YouTube channel or go out and do all this stuff. No, just sit with yourself. Start with you. Because that's where it shifts everything. If you can shift yourself, you said it once, Catherine, in a show, it was brilliant. I can't even remember what show it was on. We talked about vibrating forks, tuning fork. And when one, it always pulls the other up. And so if we can all just stop looking in our neighbor's backyard, it's like if you ever go to therapy, they always tell you, don't look in somebody else's backyard, look in your own backyard. And start working on ourselves. And yeah, that's hard to do. It sucks sometimes to have to sit there and look at yourself because you have to look at the dirty, dark parts as well. But through it all, you remember you're that Hanuman, you remember who you are. You are a child of the Most High. The same creator that created the Rocky Mountains made you. That's how badass you are.
Absolutely. When you sit within your own energy and you're still and you're in your own presence, you automatically notice that your energy rises. Your frequency will rise. Mm-hmm. It's when you're tapping into all the other stuff that your frequency drops. And the reason why it's rising, your energy and your frequency, is because you're tapping into the divine energy. So you're tapping into your divine connection, your higher self, something higher than yourself. And so just even that practice of being in stillness or sitting in nature and putting your feet on the ground, connecting with Mother Earth, just that practice itself, you'll notice that your energy automatically will start raising. And we all need to just be mindfully raising our energy at the moment.
and laughter. Watch a funny movie. Watch something. Go hang out with your girlfriends and just laugh. And our guy friends, if you're David. Sorry, he's one of the girls tonight.
Can I raise the vibration and talk about, so Friday night, I'm sitting there with my family and we're like, right, we're gonna just tune off from all this and watch a movie together. So I get on the phone and I message Brice and I said, because I'm rubbish, I don't even know how to turn my TV on, I can't find anything. So I was like, come on, what can I watch? She said, oh, David Zuber, it's just mentioned this movie. What was it called?
Midsummer.
So it's about this Swedish people going off to retreat. Now, I'm not going to ruin it to you because I insist David and Medyhne watch it. Well, the funny thing is, Brice, before you'd mentioned that, I'd been out for breakfast with one of my really lovely friends, and she was talking about going on a retreat, and it was a retreat where we were going to take some medicinal products. And I was like, oh, I really want to do this. I've never done this before because I thought, I know you can do it without all of those, but I thought quite fancy cheating. And because she's very responsible, I would trust going someone with her. So I was just umming and ahhing about whether to book on this retreat to take some psychedelics. At my age, it's quite funny. And anyway, and then I watched this Midsummer thing. Oh my God.
I felt so bad. You text me, you're like, I'm not going to bed. And what did you say at the beginning? You're like, oh, I can't be meeting my sisters anymore.
It was just hysterical. You've got to watch it. It's about this sort of cult in Sweden. I won't say any more. And afterwards, I messaged Brice and my husband says, I'm never allowed to choose a movie again. Now, he went to bed and was fine. And I've had the weirdest dreams ever since and everything. So if you want a bit of light relief, watch Midsummer. I'll put the link below. It was hysterical. But it shows the power of the mind, though, doesn't it? Like you talked about, David, on your video about how you'd been watching that channel and then you started Switch Your Chat. The power of the mind and then how it triggers all these other things that are obviously within you. Because my husband slept like a log. I didn't.
Well, I will tell you, so the director of that movie, after I texted you and I was like, oh, that's the last one I watched because David Zuber told me to watch it. I went and was looking up information because I was trying to find a link for you. And I found a movie that he had done before this that apparently was better than Midsummer. So I, of course, watched it. It was called Hereditary. Holy crap. I had the weirdest dreams for like, it is, but it's that psychological, it's like those old Hitchcock movies before they had all equipment to make things like, super like, in your face horror, but it was like the psychological. And I think the thing though, Catherine, is that we have become aware that this psychological stuff revolving, we'll just say certain religious beliefs is real.
Exactly. That's what got me. This is what got me, because it was completely real to me. I was like, oh my God, I can see.
I mean, even when you do meditations with people, you have to be careful because sometimes within them that these people that create these meditations have control structures within them where when you do their meditation, you're actually putting yourself under them energetically and they're becoming like your guru, or they're going to be energetically controlling you from that point because you've sort of unconsciously put yourself within their like as a student under them, and so you've just got to even be mindful when you do meditations or when you watch something that you're not tapping into energies that are going to in some way unconsciously be manipulating you.
Well, the good thing is, Mum, if you're watching, you won't be. I'm not doing any mushrooms now because it's put me off like that. I'm far too scared now. So I'm just going to stick to my Joe Dispenza meditations and do it all myself. But I just had to have a laugh with it because it tied in. If anyone watches it, it ties into everything we're talking about because it's a different type of mind control. And, it just shows how powerful these messages at whatever level are if you're susceptible to them. And what was obvious because of all the research when things we've all been talking about, I was much more susceptible to it than, say, my husband was. And it was very interesting to see the difference and how it affects us very differently. But I had to have a giggle with it because I asked and I got...
Well, 5 years ago, I would have watched that and been like, oh, it's just a Hollywood film. Like,
exactly.
This shit that happened. And now I'm like, oh, this happened. Like, this is real. this is real. So
Yeah.
it's, I mean, it's beautifully, it's, you can tell the director, they're beautiful, it's beautifully done, that this is
Yeah.
obviously a beautiful landscape, but yeah, it's a bit of a mind twister, that one. So but yeah, but the thing too is, the beautiful thing though, once you become aware of these subliminal messages, whether it's coming from movies or the radio or whatever, once you become aware of it, you can pinpoint it. And therefore,
yeah.
you kind of even start to take your power back, because you understand what they're trying to do. And once you have that awareness, it's like one of my favorite sayings is, once you see it, you can't unsee it. Like it's it. You can't, once you see it, you can't unsee it. You know exactly what's happening. And it's funny, like we go back now, and I'll go back and watch like the past 20 years, which is still so hard for me to believe that 20 years ago was 2002, but I'll go back and watch stuff, and you'll see stuff now that you missed before, that you completely missed. And it's like, holy crap. But that is the good thing about the probability of us moving into a better place, is because, so we talked about this with Lucy Davis, like so many of us are aware now that it has changed, it's already starting to change the frequency of the collective, because so many of us are aware now that it's eventually going to start, that like that vibrational tuning fork, it's eventually going to start to wear off on those in our surrounding areas, you know. So I can't believe, I'm just still shocked that you guys are still like you, David, are still living in an area where there's all these restrictions. I mean, we're pretty much like, just everything's normal here. So
we're going backwards. We've got more cases than we've ever had. We've got a higher shot rate than we've ever had, obviously, but we've got 5,000 cases now, when we had at the peak, we had nothing. So it's just stupid, right? And is anybody making that connection? You know, like people that have bought into the narrative, are they not seeing that it's at the very least, the things either aren't working or they're actually causing you know, I don't know.
That's right. It's so illogical. It just doesn't make sense. You know, in Victoria, they're quoting numbers of 90%. I mean, it's absolutely not that. If you muscle tested, there's something maybe like 40%, you know, if you muscle test with kinesiology. But yeah, when you listen to these sources, it's just so much false information.
What frustrates the hell out of me, and I think I'm going to develop Tourette's over this, I keep swearing about it, but it's, I can't believe that we're still, you know, as a collective talking about cases and things like this, because when you have the rational I mean, I've got all my scientific friends, and I have a rational conversation about, you know that the PCR test can't diagnose anything, you know, so yes, you understand it. And then in the next sentence, they're talking about cases, and I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? Do you not get? It's like, how many pink unicorns do you need to see fly over you? It's so ridiculous. But it's amazing how quickly it gets into terminology. Like over in the UK, everything's been dropped in England at the moment, and it's following suit in Wales and Scotland and Ireland. And yet I go out today, and there's all these people still with like masks over their mouth. And all I think about is what Charlie Ward says, but it's like wearing a condom over your bollocks. And it's so ridiculous. It's like, and they're all doing it. And you've got school children getting on the bus with it. And I'm like, what are you doing? I feel like I'm living in a different world.
Yeah. And I think it's harder for us, because I think most of us do most of our work now from home, like with the YouTube. So we're surrounded all day, whether we're on Zoom or, you know, the people we choose to see in our lives, in our hometowns, by people who are like us, who think like us. And so when you're put in situations where you're surrounded by people who don't think like us, it's quite shocking. It kind of shocks the system a little bit, that people, you know, you think people are joking sometimes, and they're dead serious, and it's like, are we living on the same world? Like this is, but it's like that other movie, Don't Look Up, that you had to watch, Catherine. It's the same thing. Don't look up, you know, it's, if you guys haven't seen that movie yet.
Is it a horror film?
No, you'd love it, David. Because
I don't do horror films anymore.
No. And this other one that Brice said, it's not a horror film. I've never watched a horror film in my life, and never would, because I just can't. I can't see why you do that. And this one's not a horror film, is it? But no, Don't Look Up. David, you'd love it, because it is just.
Did that just come out? That's the one with it's fairly recent, isn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of big names, which is very interesting because it's basically I mean, what they discovered this, like, my mind's gone blank, this rock, what do they call that?
Meteorite. The
Meteorite,
meteorite's
that's it.
gonna hit the earth, and they're all in denial, and like they're all sitting there saying, and it's all about the mainstream media and everything, but that it's hysterical, and you've got to watch it right to the end if you watch it, because the ending is fantastic. I'm not going to say anymore, but it's just fantastic.
I guess that it's all about consciousness, though, isn't it? You know, the movie sounds like it's just pinpointing or illustrating the difference in consciousness, and I think none of us realized what a chasm and what a divide there was in the consciousness between all people that exist on the planet. You know, we thought we were all more like-minded and that we're all more on the same page, but you're just shocked by this complete contrast in the perception of reality.
Yeah.
Nothing reveals the truth quite like a psyop, does it?
Yeah.
Do we want to know? So one of the things I was thinking about today on my dog walk in the pouring rain, hence my hair, but I was thinking today, someone sent me a video and said, oh, you must listen to this. And I thought, oh, well, I'll listen to it. And it was another psychic giving another, now, she was psychic, but actually it was quite an astrological prediction. And I was just sitting there thinking, well, I don't want to know all of this, actually, because one, it might or might not happen, but all it was doing was taking me. I've had to work very, very hard. I'm a natural in your head person. And so I've had to work very, very hard to get myself back into my headspace and be in the present moment. And I'm doing quite well at it, generally speaking now. And then when I listen to a lot of the astrological, and it's not that I don't think astrology is great. I do think astrology is great. And I think it's got a lot to add, but in moderation, because it's very much like this is going to happen on that date and this is going to happen on that date. And I found myself consciously feeling that I was then taken out of the present moment straight back into living your life for what's coming again, which surely is the whole point of what we're trying to get out of. So I think it's what we all talk about, it's balance, isn't it? It's yes, this information can be amazing, but don't stay there too long, because if you're constantly focused, like she was saying, I think it was the 4th and 5th of April are going to be massive dates. And I'm like, I don't want to live my life waiting for the 4th and 5th of April, because this might be the last month I've got on this world. I want to make
giving your power away. Giving your power away. Like I was saying before, you know, when you focus on those things, you're giving your power away, because you're putting the authority of what's happening, you're giving it to someone else, where you should be getting that authority within yourself.
Yeah. Absolutely. And it's a very easy, I can see the trap, because there's this innate lack of most humans in their own self-confidence to listen to themselves, whereas it's much easier to put these people. And what I'm seeing is, instead of the Hollywood movie stars on the pedestal, we've now got all these people that are predicting things up on the pedestal. And for me, it's just a straight swap.
And you hit the nail on the head, because it's self-love, it's self-worth, it's, you know, being able to feel connected enough within yourself and enough love that you trust yourself and you trust your own divine connection. So that's totally hitting the nail on the head when you said that, Catherine.
Yeah, the lionizing of people is not good. Like, you should not hero worship anyone. You know, you can respect people for the work they've done. You can hold respect for them, but to hero worship even YouTubers, it makes me uncomfortable sometimes. Like, even when I watch some of our fellow colleagues, peers, it makes me uncomfortable, because we're all human beings. None of us are really, really more enlightened than the next person. We all have just different perceptions and different experiences, and have understood different things from our own sense, our own filtered sense of the world. And we're all, I mean, literally, I hate to keep saying this, but we're literally all walking each other home. Like, nobody's Nobody's walking in front. We're all together doing this. And again, we can respect each other, but to lionize someone, to put someone on a pedestal, to idolize them as if they are the gospel, that's what got us into the mess we're in now, is that type of behavior. So we can't do that anymore. Like, that can't happen anymore. You know,
and when you're on a pedestal too, on the other end, you know, there's always this thing that happens where at some point you'll get dropped and then you'll fall off the pedestal and then you go down to the other extreme. And so there's that sort of thing that happens where you at some point you get dropped off the pedestal and then you're at this lower level. So it's, there's no balance in that.
Mm.
Yeah.
David,
I mean,
where are you feeling you're at the moment, personally?
Was that directed at me?
Yeah, sorry, to you, David. Yeah.
Just to touch on what you guys just said, I think that it's funny when you put videos out, people tend to think that you know the answer to everything. I'm sure you've all received emails and saying, hey, help me solve this problem. And I'm like, I don't have all the answers. This is what I would do. But, you know, seriously, it's just one person's opinion, you know, like I wouldn't even really, you know, you don't have to do that either. But in terms of where I'm at now, after the psychic attack, I've just kind of really kind of stepped back and taken a step back from a lot of things. I haven't posted on Facebook in weeks. I haven't really
Except our chat.
Yeah. And I haven't been watching many things either. And I find that I go through these stages of about 2 years where I can go intense research into all this stuff. And then I have to have a pretty long break. So it happened from 2013, 14 up until about 2015 or 16. So it was a bit longer than 2 years. But then I had like 2017 and 18 off pretty much until, or even 2019 until, you know, till 2020. So I think I'm at that stage now where I have to have a really long break because I just can't handle it anymore, and just kind of focus on, obviously keep an ear to the ground and see what's happening or what you think is happening, and don't give up.
And you play your music to raise your frequency, don't you, Dave? Like that's your thing that you do to really feel good. Is that right?
Yeah,
music?
Yeah. That's one of the things that takes me into the flow state, and I can lose hours in, you know, in what seems like minutes. But I think it's a fine line. There's a bit of a fine line to be walked between focusing on yourself too much at the same time as like connecting with yourself too much without focusing on yourself too much. If that makes sense, you know, it's not an easy thing to juggle, I don't think. But you know, we're in very strange times, so it's not a dress rehearsal, you know. No one's ever done this before, so
I saw a few little clips that I have seen which have really provoked me to sort of think about the whole situation, because it's so easy to get your focus on a certain area of stuff that there's no way at the moment that I as an individual can back up whether it's true or not. So take the Ukraine situation. So I've seen some really, really interesting snippets coming out about it, and I have no way of backing up intellectually which is right and which is wrong. And actually, from what I've seen, Ukraine's such a huge country, and it's very like Australia. Look at Australia, you know, you two are in very different areas of Australia and are facing very different challenges at the moment. And even the United Kingdom, which is a tiny country compared to all three of yours where you live, huge differences in different areas of the country in terms of what people are experiencing. And even an hour apart, you know, out in the countryside where I am, I've had a completely different experience than someone that's living in a city centre. So it's really fascinating about how quickly your attention can be drawn to something and you can focus on that. So I did find myself being quite protective over, you know, I was seeing everyone on social media putting the pictures of the Ukraine and pray for Ukraine and everything. And I've got nothing against praying for anywhere. I think that's positive, whatever you're praying for. But again, you know, me as an individual, even though I know people who've got friends there, I don't know, understand the situation. I'm never going to know what's happening with Putin, probably personally. I'm unlikely to ever personally meet him and everything. So I think you've hit on such an important point there, David, about it's a constant work in progress. You don't want to be completely self-centered and not care about anything else. But I've been a natural worry all my life. There's no point worrying about something that I can't do anything about it. It's back to that simple equation. If you're worrying about something, can you influence it? Yes. Okay, do something positive about it. No, stop worrying about it, because worrying is just putting out negative energy there into the planet. And it's that fine, constant reminder, isn't it? Something's happening. Can I personally do something to affect it? Yes or no? Yes, do something positive. No, okay, don't worry about it. Stop putting negative energy towards it. Does that make sense?
Yes, and just learning to trust your gut. You know, this whole intuition thing is such an opportunity now to learn how to trust your intuition and read your intuition and sort of feel into what it's telling you. Because for years now, I've been getting messages that Putin is working with the good guys and is on the positive side of things. And I tried to tell my family a couple of years ago, and I got shut down big time because they're buying all the, you know, the mainstream narrative about it. But you know, that is my intuition talking to me really clearly that this person is working for the good. And I just got that so strongly from my intuition, from my gut. Nobody told me that, and I've had it for years, and it's just gets stronger. So that's what I trust.
When something you said, David, about like, I get that, having to take a break sometimes, and like for me, I'm such a, I would say type A, but I'm O negative blood, but I'm such a type A personality where I want to just keep going, that something sometimes does have to happen where it forces me to like sit down and relax. But it's interesting. So like we talk about this in the practice of Ashtanga, where we call it, they're not adjustments, they're cranks. You get cranked in this class where literally bones will pop. And it's like, I always tell people when I see my teacher's feet coming towards me in class, it's always like the Jaws theme song plays in my head, because I know I'm about to get like manhandled basically. But what happens though is when the teacher is constantly adjusting you to change these patterns in your body, day after day after day after day, eventually the teacher has to back off for a while to allow all of that to process through your system. And so I think what you're saying, David, is actually really, really healthy about like, you're going like balls to the wall, research, understanding, and then having to like step back for a moment. It's not that you're really burnt out or that you're doing something bad. No, you're allowing everything to process through your consciousness, because the body itself is the mind field. And human beings are super simple, but also super complex at the same time, because we're working with consciousness, mind, which are two totally different things, soul, spirit, natural body, nervous system, gut. We've got so much we're working with, that in order for everything to really move through us, to have that deep guttural understanding, sometimes we have to sit back and let it root run through our system. You know, it's why sometimes people need to take time to think about something, because they need to actually let it filter through their understanding. And so I think that's actually really healthy. What you brought up, David, is for people to understand. And maybe it's our culture in the Western world today where it's like keeping up with the Joneses, and we're constantly having to do more, be more, work harder, that we've forgotten that we actually have to let things settle sometimes. And so if you're feeling overwhelmed or you feel like you need to take a break, it's not necessarily a break. It's a time for things to filter through you. And maybe it is a break, because we always tell people in Ashtanga Yoga, Saturday's our rest day. Resting is part of the practice too. It's part of it as well. You know, and in war, you always go into the med tent at some point. You got to go into the medical tent, right? So yeah, I think that's super important what you brought up, David, about pulling back sometimes. And Catherine knows I'm so bad about telling myself I'm going to take a day but not doing it, that I've actually had to go on the weekends, go up to the mountains where I have no reception, just to kind of force myself to like sit in the nature and the North Georgia mountains. Hello, that's where Deliverance takes place. If you haven't seen that movie, that's a fun one. But it is literally like no man's land. You get up in those mountains, beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous, but it is literally like no man's land, you know.
You need a banjo.
Well, I'll tell you all funny story. So the guy who wrote the book Deliverance before it was a movie went to the same high school that I went to way before I went there. Yeah, he went to that high school, and it's about, Deliverance is about these Atlanta boys that go up to the North Georgia mountains for a hunting trip, and all sorts of shenanigans happen in Appalachia. But it's funny because when you're from Atlanta, people outside of Atlanta don't really see Atlanta as being part of the South. It's your Atlanta that's different, that's not part of the South, because it's a city. So yeah, that's always a squeal like a pig, boy, squeal like a pig. That's one of the famous lines from that very scary movie. But yeah.
Oh, don't remind me of that. I don't want to go back to that scene. I still want to go there. Please, I want some sleep tonight. I've got a new baby coming. I need to sleep before I give birth. Yeah. Oh my goodness. So, okay, let's go around the table then, starting with men first, so that David gets a word in edgeways. Right. What is your focus at the moment? What are you going to concentrate on at the moment? What is big for you?
I think more so, I think really just like just having that break and just allowing yourself to process things, and not feeling guilty for it, because we all do need it. Do you think, like, in a championship game, do you think the champion of the team, or the multiple champions in the team, they all need a break too? They can't just keep going balls to the wall and doing things. And look, putting out content isn't easy either, so not to say that anybody who isn't putting out content isn't doing any work, but I'm saying, it's like we all do need a break at some point, and you'll know when it's time. Like sometimes something ticks in your mind, and you're like, hey, now's the time. Maybe it wasn't the time before. Maybe I felt like I wanted a break, but I didn't really need one. I find that in my life there are certain things that happen where it's not really, could be a mindset shift, but it's really just a thing that tells you now's the time you are going to do this thing, and you are going to dedicate yourself to it, or undedicate yourself to it for however long, and then eventually, naturally, something will happen, and you'll either pick it back up again, or you'll completely stop it altogether, or whatever it is that whatever that thing is. So I think it's really important to just be mindful of the fact that you don't need to push so hard all the time. That's not to say drop the ball completely, but just be, I suppose. Just be, and let life flow, and do whatever it is that you can to really, if you can make a difference in that area, whatever it is, like you said, Catherine, then do so. But if you can't, then it's really going to just do you a disservice to keep kind of ticking things over in your mind. I used to be a chronic overanalyzer, to the point of not eating, or losing sleep and things like that. It doesn't happen now, but that was a thing that I had to deal with. So I'll just leave it there.
What about you, Brice?
My focus, well, I was telling you, Catherine, I don't know if we were on air or off air, where I said, as a teacher of philosophy, we often joke about the teacher teaches what the teacher needs to learn. And so my focus literally has been finding that Hanuman, really standing in your own sovereignty. What does that mean to really for me specifically, what does that mean to stand in your sovereignty? What can you do? Why? What is the magic about me? And that's why I bring it to my channel as well. Like, especially in the Magdalene series, like, what is special about you? Where is that unconditional love coming from, that source God creation? So that's my focus this week, is really, really remembering. What's the famous line from the Ramayana that Hanuman says? When I don't remember who I am, I serve you. When I remember who I am you.
Medyhne, what about you?
Well, I'd just like to mention too, I've got sessions available for people at the minute, and below I'm going to have a 10% discount code for people. So, you know, there's a real demand at the moment for people to be working on themselves and to be shifting things so that they can move forward in all these energies. So if anyone would like to work with me, please feel welcome to contact me. I have availability now to work with new clients, and also I do have a few mentorship programs available for people to work with, as well, learning spiritual healing and energy work and that sort of thing as well. So, you know, if that resonates, please contact me. But what I'm working on at the moment too is the thing that comes to me is to be sending love and compassion and prayers to different parts around the world that need it. I've got a beautiful little prayer here, if I could share, that I think is beautiful and timely. You know, when we think of what's happening in Australia at the moment, can you see that?
Yeah.
So it's, God, we need you. We always have. You are our source of strength, and you tell us to give you all our concerns. So please strengthen anyone who is feeling hurt, alone, or broken. Replace any feelings of anxiety, fear, and uncertainty with your peace and hope. Show anyone who is hurting that you are near, and you comfort those who call on you. Draw near to us as we draw near to you. In Jesus' name, amen. So just having that compassion and that prayerful thought for all the people in the world who are going through challenges and sending them love. That's my thing at the moment.
I'd just like to add.
Pardon?
Sorry, Catherine. I'd just like to add something which just popped into my head when Medyhne said that. In that, I sent Catherine some pictures yesterday. One of the lyrics in one of the songs, which is called "The Resistance," is love is our resistance. That's the lyric, and I think it's very powerful and obviously very needed right now. But it really is a resistance. You know, just vibrating at the love frequency. It doesn't even have to be that high. It could be a little bit less than love frequency, but it would really shift the world.
Definitely.
Yeah. And mine is, I saw a beautiful couple this morning who've got a dog that's got very aggressive cancer. And I was going through all the things that I have to be careful what I say here, that you're not allowed to do in terms of all the natural remedies and treatments. And it was like, that is my heart and soul in terms of to sort of really show people how much they can do themselves. And Brice and I have been doing a series, and we're continuing to do one on meditation and also manifestation, and the two fit together so much. And I've been putting a lot of focus on my own personal meditation, and what I'm seeing is that everything around you shifts when you do that. And we've been sort of talking through different techniques with people because there can be quite a lot of resistance to that. But what it really showed me this morning is that whatever was in my diary when this came up would have been cancelled for that, because it's the right here, right now, with the fact that these healing modalities are out there and they're available, and the state of the world at the moment where we're restricted. You know, I've got prosecution threats against me for sharing some of these natural remedies on my website and things like this. And I'm just like, I don't care. I'm just going to keep sharing them because the answers are all there. The answers are all there in everything that we've all talked about tonight. And I think it's just reminding people there, and then being there for them when you need it, and sharing that and passing it forward, I think shifts everything very quickly. So we'll be back in 2 weeks' time for any of us on here that want to join us. And equally, if any of us need a break, that's absolutely fine as well. Because it's very early for some of you, very late for some of us, and we really appreciate everyone that watches, don't we? Because we are just, for me, this is a conversation between friends. We don't have any answers. It's a conversation between some, you know, you are my very, very dear friends, all of you, and we appreciate each and every one of you that takes the time to listen and comment and support each other in the chat and share your wisdom.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Medyhne, make sure you send us that code, won't you, to all of
I
us?
will.
We can all put it under the
Sure.
video, because that's lovely that you're offering a discount to 10% off to anyone with the code that we'll share under here. So until next time, thank you all very much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.